BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Drum and bass is everywhere. The fast beating heart of your workouts, the pure release of your nights out. And it's still breaking new ground. This is the story of how it rose and rose. I'm DJ Flight, and this is Turn It Up, a short history of drum and bass.
This is One Extra. Digital satellite, online.
The home of new black music.
Episode 5, Extra Bass.
Oh my God, we're here! I'm going to say welcome to One Extra, the new black music from the BBC.
When the BBC launched One Extra in August 2002, it gave drum and bass a dedicated new home on the airwaves. 11 hours of D&B programming a week, led by presenters L Double, Bailey, Sapo, Friction, Chrissy Chris, and yours truly.
You're listening to DJ Flight, rolling out the freshest drum and bass cuts on One Extra. The future, the next chapter.
This was such an incredible time for me. It really felt like being part of something important and groundbreaking. You can hear the excitement in my voice reminiscing about it to DJ Storm. It helps spread the even more diversifying sounds around the world.
Yeah.
Extra Bass, which was a full weekend of non-stop back-to-back drum and bass shows. I remember Ronnie Size was on, Doc Scott was on, but then that grew into a full week-long tour, which we would take to different venues around the UK. I was in Belfast with Calibre. Right. It was really, really exciting.
Extra Bass presents Release with Flight from Lovely, Belfast. This is the Extra Bass tour, Belfast leg.
It was a really incredible time. And also the music, like I see a lot of that period as a real golden era, because Calibre was on fire. Every single tune he made was just silly. There was a lot of really good soulful stuff, but then there was also this nice reggae, dubby, warm, rolling sound as well. The exposure from One Extra unlocked new worlds for me and lots of the artists I knew. Our scene had always felt quite small and tight-knit, but now it was going widescreen. New styles, new champions, new countries of origin, and space for the whole lot on this amazing new station. MC DRS had been grinding in Manchester, pushing soulful sounds alongside Northern hero Marcus Intellects and his Paramount Solar record label and events. One Extra helped change the game for DRS completely.
Obviously, it's everything to have support from a national radio station, worldwide. At that time, it was like you needed your music on radio to progress, and to get bookings and keep your name sort of ringing. So, yeah, it's everything.
The night shift. Let me tell you what's going down in the place, baby. Tell me what's going on. All the way from Brazil, DJ Marky on the mix. Special.
DJ Marky was one of many non-UK artists to get airtime on One Extra. Brian G was his label boss at V Recordings, and he remembers this time in the mid-2000s as a real explosion of global talent.
This is where we kind of starting to see this scene is bigger than the UK. All of a sudden, producers from places that I'd never even heard of in my life are smashing it, you know what I mean? Big tunes and stuff, and it's completely opened up now, you get what I'm saying? And these guys don't even need us to play their tunes or whatever, because they're building up a whole fan base elsewhere now.
The growth of the whole internationally was reflected at home with the sudden and rapid rise of dance music festivals, many of which had dedicated D&B stages. Global Gathering had a One Extra stage, Homelands hosted Movement, Creamfields gave a tent to metalheads. Storm.
It was exciting because finally we were given a stage, right? I mean, for Creamfields to pick metalheads up was really exciting because, number one, gosh, it was kind of different money than we knew, I mean, it was like festival money,
I was too young for the second Summer of Love in '89, when the original acid house ravers gathered in fields all over the country. But this felt like my version. All of a sudden, people were coming across this music for the first time in fields all over the country, and they discovered that they liked it. Harriet Jackson, wonder kid of D&B's new wave, has seen that at so many festivals.
People don't realise how wide this music is and how many different influences. It's such a melting pot. And I think for me, that's one of the best things about festivals and about their growth. They definitely give the opportunity to open people's eyes to music and scenes that are out there they don't know about already. I get a lot of messages from people, which does make me laugh, saying like, oh, I don't really like drum and bass, but I really like your set. And I'm thinking, yeah, but so you do like drum and bass.
With more and more casual listeners coming into contact with drum and bass, something began to change in the sound of the music itself. DJ and producer High Contrast.
I think as well, the bigger, more accessible sounds has happened in tandem with the move away generally from nightclubs and to festivals and all-day events, you know, and I think by their nature, you kind of have to have that bigger sound, because at a festival you're going to get people who are just wandering around. They haven't gone specifically to a drum and bass night, they've gone for a more general thing. So to bring those people in and hold those audiences, you need things like top 10 tunes or remixes of pop tracks to, you know, just keep the crowd there and give something for people to latch on to, you know, and then you can slip in some deeper tracks afterwards or something.
Festivals play an important part in keeping the scene fresh. New people being exposed to and falling in love with our marvellous music should always be welcomed, whether it's underground or mainstream sounds. Harriet Jackson.
Ultimately, it's a positive thing. If it's giving people the opportunity to discover this world of drum and bass that I personally am so passionate about, that I think everyone should be able to kind of understand it and be part of it. So if that's an entry point, I think that's a good thing.
That new level of exposure in the 2000s opened up something of an ultimatum for D&B's originators: adapt or disappear. Brian G.
It made them kind of struggle a bit, because the new guys then were coming with a new energy, you get what I'm saying? And at the same time, technology is changing, and software, everything's changing, you get what I'm saying? And the way how to make music is changing. So for a lot of people, it was like starting again, you get what I'm saying?
But there were opportunities for the old guard to continue thriving in this new landscape. They just had to stay open. Sub Focus started releasing tunes in the early 2000s, and his biggest mentor was scene veteran Andy C.
It was a really amazing thing for me, because he kind of basically mentored me throughout my early career and gave me a lot of good advice about like how my music was working in the clubs. And like when I started, I was doing like everything was very instrumental, and there wasn't much in the way of like vocals or speech or anything like that. I remember him sort of being like, you know, you need a sort of ident for a tune, and you need like something very unique, like whether it be like a unique sound or a speech sample or a vocals.
The relationship wasn't a one-way street. Part of how Andy C stayed relevant was observing the young people around him.
It was so weird as well, because he was sort of like calling me saying like, how'd you get this mix to sound like this? And I was just like, surely like you don't need any tips from me.
That same intergenerational dynamic played a part in one of D&B's biggest success stories. Here's DJ and label runner Doc Scott.
I played at a festival on New Year's Day in Perth. As I was walking, these guys come up to me and said, hey, we were going to bring a CD of a tune, we forgot it or we couldn't burn it. Can we get your AIM and send you a tune? I was like, yeah, sure, man. And then I remember sitting in my studio, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and this blue, you know, AIM thing. It was like, hey, remember us? We're Pendulum. It was, we got a couple of tunes, can we send them to you? I was like, yeah, fire them over. And one of them was Volt. And I remember sitting there, it was like 3, 4 in the morning, and I heard this tune, and I was like, it just sounded so different, because their production levels were so different to what was around. So I immediately kind of said, what's going on with this tune? And they were like, nothing. I was like, I'd love to put this out. And they were like, really? I was like, yeah.
Everyone on the scene remembers Pendulum's first tune. It charged in like a bull.
Well, first of all, I played it out for a couple of weeks and it just went off. It's weird, man, because when you're A&R and things, sometimes you kind of know, but you never really know. And sometimes you think you've got a big tune and you haven't. And it's funny because people go, oh, you gave the world Pendulum. I go, no, I didn't, man. Pendulum were always going to be Pendulum. That tune would have blown up wherever it landed. Maybe it accelerated it because it landed in my lap and I knew the right people to get it to. But they would have got there anyway because they're just too talented, man.
The idea of a D&B act this good from all the way in Australia was almost unbelievable for some people.
Still at that time, 2003, drum and bass was still very much UK orientated. I stand by this, that tune was incredibly important for giving confidence to producers around the world to say, if your tune's good enough, it will kick the door down.
Vault definitely kicked a door down. When DJ Fresh heard it, he knew there was something bigger going on with these boys from Perth.
I thought it was amazing. So I was kind of blown away by their production. So like when we signed them, I think for us, one of the things that we wanted to do was like bring them to the UK and try and get them to live and breathe that UK sound and see how that was going to like affect their output.
When Fresh signed Pendulum to his and Adam F's label, Breakbeat Chaos, he saw it as an opportunity to guide them on their ascent and quickly realised they should set their sights on something bigger than underground dance floors or even festival tents. They needed a main stage to spread out on. He suggested the possibility of taking Pendulum live to the group's founder and vocalist, Rob Swire.
At the time, the biggest dance act had been Prodigy, and that was kind of like the comparator, right? You know, there was like Prodigy, Basement Jaxx, whatever. I remember talking to Rob about bands because Rob came from a band background and I also loved indie growing up. So to me, it always felt like these guys need to take that band influence that they already have and do something with that. Obviously, there were other people doing live shows, but nobody had really done a full live band before, you know, with people playing rock guitars. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that was just crazy at that point. And so it was almost like we'd given Rob permission, you know, because I think that was what Rob wanted to do anyway. And we were going, dude, like, that's cool. That's what you should do. Do the band thing.
Pendulum's first album, Hold Your Colour, was released in 2005. It became one of the biggest selling D&B albums of all time. Their metal guitars, full band setup, and arena-scale pyrotechnics brought a whole new crowd to drum and bass.
They suddenly had like a new home in dance music. Finally, the mainstream and the radio and MTV are accepting that in some form, this music can be taken seriously on every level.
The difference at this point in time, as opposed to what came before, is that drum and bass was moving in many directions simultaneously. Varied subgenre styles were fully formed, and there were a wealth of artists and labels to satisfy all tastes.
Try to explain. I know it's complicated, but I still have this feeling, more serious than butterflies. My inside so soft.
This new ecosystem included the old guard like Fab and Groove, Goldie, Shy FX, the commercial successes like High Contrast, Pendulum, Genergy, and this whole wave of newer talent. Hazard, Breakage, Alex Perez, and many more blossomed, inspired by the underground champions who came before them. Between the festival circuit, the 11 hours of One Extra D&B programming, the continued support of Radio 1, there was somehow space for all of them to thrive. And with that much D&B finding its way into the ethos, the popularity of the music kept on growing, almost by accident. Sub-Focus.
It was amazing getting something in the top 40 for the first time because, I mean, none of this music is like designed for the charts at all, you know. So it was a really cool time because I started to feel like, okay, there's some outside of the scene love and stuff.
The mid-noughties sees drum and bass in a very healthy place. To be instrumental in the development and expansion of so much amazing music via our BBC Radio 1 Extra shows felt exhilarating. We all had faith in the power of the genre, but I don't think anyone could have imagined the highs that were to come. Next, we look at an incredible crossover achievement, D&B's first ever UK number one, and how the underground reacted to dubstep's surge in popularity. You've been listening to Turn It Up, a short history of drum and bass with me, DJ Flight. Hit subscribe now to get the latest episodes when they drop.
Heya, it's Charlie T here, and if you like this podcast, then why not check out Radio 1's Drum and Bass Show? If you're looking for the hottest D&B, fire mixes, and the biggest guests in the world, then we're the one for you. Obviously, I'm a bit biased. Listen now, just search Drum and Bass in BBC Sounds.
I'm Morgan Freeman, and this is 6 Degrees from Jamie and Spencer.
You know what, Spen?
What?
I have pulled out some big names for our podcast recently.
What on earth are you talking about?
J-Lo, Morgan Freeman, Samuel Jackson, dare I say more? They came on cause, apparently, rumour has it, they love me.
You know that they're only talking to you to get to me.
Whoa. I'm producer Phil. I'm the one that gets us the A-list guests around here.
So, join us for the podcast that's all about making new friends and have lots of fun on the way.
And hopefully we stay friends too.
Beautiful.
6 Degrees from Jamie and Spencer.
This is going to be amazing.
Only on BBC Sounds.